Another month, another set of games coming out. Quite a few of them looking pretty darn good. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on Game Ranks, new games you gotta check out in February 2019. Number 10 is God Eater 3, a post-apocalyptic monster hunting game in which a team of God Eaters takes down huge monsters with a load of new options. For instance, you're able to dual wield in this game, which is not true of previous God Eater games. It's a game that takes a step away from God Eater 2, but it's still obviously a hack and slash action RPG, so I feel like it's not too far. It's a really stylish looking, cool looking game, and I'm pretty excited about it, honestly. It looks good. It hits PlayStation 4 and Microsoft Windows on February 8th. Number 9 is Anno 1800, a version of the city/empire/society building simulation that takes place in the 1800s, of course. The theme of the game is industrialization, as you would think it would be. That's pretty much the most important thing of that era. What I think is a really great addition to 1800 is going to be the blueprint mode they've been talking about, in which you'll be able to basically plan the city in more or less the exact same way you would actually build it, but before you have the resources to do it. And then the buildings can be built by clicking after the resources, and all of that has been put together to complete the project. It's a really good idea, honestly. You're also going to have to work on balancing tourism, which means trying to keep an industrialized city beautiful, as well as dealing with things like unrest, because it's the Industrial Revolution, which systemically exploited tons of people and treated them like cogs in a machine, much more literally than we mean it now. Lots of people died in the Industrial Revolution due to industrial accidents and negligence, and that's something you're going to have to deal with. Anno 1800 comes February 26th to the PC. Number 8 is Trials Rising, the next in a series that's gone on quite a while. It's sort of the extreme sports version of Excite Bike from way back in the NES days. It's a course-based motocross extreme stunt. Frankly, a lot of it is totally impossible, really enjoyable, fun, over-the-top game. Number 7 is Left Alive, which is a pretty awesome looking shooter/mech game that takes place in the Front Mission universe. If you're not familiar, it's actually a pretty long-running shooter universe that Square Enix owns, but what makes this version of it different is that it will feature art from the person who did art for Metal Gear Solid. Most of the concept art comes from them, and the game itself looks like a really enjoyable, in some ways a little bit nostalgic PS2 kind of game, but it does look way higher budget, which is probably a good thing, to be frank. It's 2019, games are different now. But to see the single player action-oriented stuff actually becoming a thing makes me quite happy to look at. Left Alive is coming to PS4 and PC on February 28th. Number 6 is Dirt Rally 2.0, the sequel to, frankly, the seminal rally game of our time. If you recall, the original Dirt Rally came out in 2015. It is still a shining example of a damn good rally car game. It was really a game that modeled physics incredibly, and Dirt Rally 2.0 looks to be attempting to go further in terms of both weather modeling and as well as actually allowing the stages to degrade both as more cars go through it, thanks to weather, etc., etc. It's a minute detail that I think is just going to bring another layer to it, because it will affect how grip works to have a bunch of cars go through some mud, for instance. I think that's really interesting, detail-oriented stuff that people are thinking about to make a rally car game that actually does better than Dirt Rally. Dirt Rally 2.0 is coming to PS4, Xbox One, and PC on February 26th. Number 5 is Far Cry New Dawn, the very first direct sequel game in the Far Cry universe. It is pretty promising, I think. It takes the color palette and goes wild in a post-apocalyptic world that's being reclaimed by the Earth. I like it. It takes place 17 years after Far Cry 5. It will concern what happened to the cult, what happened to the world, and hopefully what exactly it's like so soon after a nuclear apocalypse to be kind of rebuilding, because that's what it looks like. With games like Fallout, we talk about how things are hundreds of years after the nuclear apocalypse. I mean, unless you count Fallout 76, which I don't. There's no story in that game. Who cares? I'm also kind of hoping that this game functions as a bit of a palate cleanser for Fallout 76, because I like me some post-apocalyptic game content, but I don't like Fallout 76. I need something to remind me that it's good, and frankly, I'm pinning a little bit of that hope on Far Cry New Dawn. It's coming to PS4, Xbox One, and PC on February 15th. Number 4 is Jump Force, a fighting game that takes the Shonen Jump manga series, multiple ones, puts them all together in sort of an all-stars type fighting game. However, the backgrounds are very realistic looking, and the inclusion of Death Note is interesting. There's not a lot of fighting that goes on in Death Note, but that's okay, it should be interesting anyway. Honestly, this is probably gonna be a good game. It seems hard to imagine it not being. It's kind of just a unique prospect. There's not a lot that looks like this, even outside of anime. It just takes an approach that we typically don't see, especially with a bunch of beloved manga and anime series. Jump Force is coming to PS4, Xbox One, and PC on February 15th. Number 3 is Metro Exodus, the third in the series, a different approach to the game. Not altogether different, but some things that I want to mention that I think are particularly interesting. This is a game that combines open world areas with linear levels, giving you some of each, and that's something that I think is probably a really good idea, because there are areas in a game that people are going to want to see more than other areas, and frankly, a linear experience in a lot of instances is better. To know that they're attempting to take on both in a frankly dissimilar fashion to the way other people do. Typically, when you do one, you don't do the other. That is actually probably the most exciting thing about this game for me. Not that Metro isn't a great series, it is. And the gameplay, monsters, story all seem like they're going to be interesting. But if I'm honest, I'm going to be paying attention probably to the pacing of this game more than anything else, because it could be a good precursor for maybe a new standard. Let's cross our fingers, because it sounds cool. Metro Exodus is coming to PS4, Xbox One, and PC on February 15th. Number 2 is Anthem, a game that we have high hopes for, and I'm guessing they do too, because it's a pretty big budget game. There's a lot to kind of pick apart about Anthem. It's a cool looking game. The concept is great. The suits are great. The world is great. The fact you have a jetpack is great. The fact you can co-op is great. Lots of this stuff is great. But there's also, what if it's bad? And by bad, we don't just mean like not fun, but bad like ruined by microtransactions because it was balanced in a bad way. EA is amazing at making their studios do that. And you played the Star Wars Battlefront games, right? Potentially good games. Kind of ruined. So, I mean, that's kind of the main, I think, hesitance about Anthem, but the other is Mass Effect Andromeda. How did they let that even happen? I understand it's a different team and all that, but still, it's BioWare, like, whatever. Even saying all that, I think it's still worth mentioning just that Anthem looks amazing and might be really cool. Just because a couple things have gone wrong doesn't mean people can't learn. And I'm going to play Anthem, like, I want it to be good. It looks good, and I'll be playing it on PS4, Xbox One, or PC on February 22nd. And number 1, let me just say, this is the closest we've ever gotten to this being real, but Crackdown 3. So this is a game that I've talked about literally, I think, since I joined GameRanks. And that wasn't when the legend started, so to speak, either. Every year we've talked about this game, which will give us fully destructible environments and, frankly, one of the coolest looks for a fully destructible environment. Just everything about this game looks great. They added Terry Crews, that makes it cool too. I love Terry Crews, he's funny as hell. And they keep dangling it out of our reach, but I think we've gotten too close to the date for them to do that anymore, so I kind of think it's gonna happen for real. And that makes me excited. Crackdown 3 better be good though. That's something we've got to say though. If it's not good, there's gonna be some serious problems. It's almost a joke to say it's coming out, but I think it is. Crackdown 3, I'm pretty sure is coming out on Xbox One and PC February 15th. A couple of bonus games for you, including Blaze Blue Central Fiction, a 2D fighting game that was pretty well liked when it came out a few years ago on PS3, PS4, and Windows. It's coming to Nintendo Switch on February 7th. The Lego Movie 2 video game, which is a direct sequel to the previous video game. It's a typical game based on a movie, but it's kind of the type of game based on a movie that you would want. It's something that can include so many different things into one thing, and it's hitting PS4, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch on February 26th. And finally, The Liar Princess and the Blind Prince, an action-adventure game that really does look unique. It's a side-scrolling game you play as a wolf monster, and you have to protect a prince. It's different. It also has a phenomenal art style that's just impossible to dislike, and that's coming out for the PS4 and Switch on February 12th. What games are you particularly looking forward to next month? Leave us a comment, let us know what you think, and if you like this video, please click like. If you're not subscribed, now's of course a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week, and the best way to see them first is of course a subscription. So click subscribe, and do not forget to click the notification bell. As always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter, Falcon the Hero. We'll see you next time, right here on Game Ranks.